Hi, this is Tanya Sheridan. I'm an independent consultant with Close to My Heart, and today I want to talk you through creating this fun little flip-flap book that I've designed with a gingerbread theme. So I will tell you first and foremost that I was not the original designer of the concept. Jen Patrick, I believe, was the original author of it, but I've taken it and I've just really enjoyed using it time and time again. It's just a fun little brag book. It's pretty inexpensive. You can make it as detailed or as simplistic as you want. So I did this one with a gingerbread theme. I love gingerbreads. My daughter and my mom love to make them together. That's kind of their thing. And so I thought this would be a fun little brag book for Abigail to share her recipe with, and then just pictures of them creating with. So I love the peach paper, and this is our mix-in paper from last year, and it just, to me, it screamed gingerbread. So that's kind of where I got the idea from. So I'm going to take you through the pages, and then I'm going to teach you how to create the binding, and then I'll walk you step by step through creating the actual pages themselves. So the binding, you will see, like I said, it's 6 flip flaps. They're each individually bound, and then there's a binding on top, which I wrapped with Shimmer Trim. So you have a cover, and then you have space for a 3x4 photo. There's, some sentiments, and you can mix it up. You can follow my designs exactly. You have all of the pieces to do that if you've purchased my kit, or you can do it however it works for you. But I did use a spot for a 4x6 photo there. And then here is a full design, and there's a smaller photo to balance that out there with the little gingerbread people. Here you have some scallop circles, and again a Cricut cut gingerbread, and then the little candy pieces. These are from the Candyland Christmas set, stamp set that is still available on my site. So it's not in our books, but it is available on our sites. Here you have another accent and a space for a 4x6 photograph. These two I thought would be great for some journaling. This is where you could put your recipe if you wanted to, or you could do a photograph and crop it down, however best fits you, and then finishing out the little book. So I thought it would be fun to put their name here, or for Abby, or Grandmommy and Abby, or what have you, something like that on the back page. So I wanted to show you, tell you a little bit about the kit and walk you through the kit. This is available in my inallsassiness.com on my site. And there's several different versions, but this was by far my favorite. So you do have a photograph that shows each of the pages in the book. So hopefully that will help you as well as this tutorial. So there are lots of pieces. I will tell you that up front. But I did organize them pretty well. Each page is pretty much the core things in each page are with each page. So you're going to pull out your embellishments. You have your little gingerbread people. Some of them are, of course, are stamped differently. These are your binding pieces. So these pieces that are loose are all your binding pieces. So we're going to stick those up there. And then you're going to have, like I said, 6, here's some more binding, 6 pages. And then you have this little accent bag. So the little accent bag is where you're going to find all of your little gingerbreads and your little intricate pieces so that they don't get lost in the pages. Okay, so what we're going to do is I have already pre-done these binding pieces, and they have red line tape on them. So the red line tape, I actually usually get it, I think it's from Tessler, but you can find it online. I just like Tesslers because they have such large rolls, and it's very cost efficient. So I did put those on the pieces. They're pre-scored for you. So if you look through your pieces, you should have 6 that have 1 seam down the middle. So you can see here it's got 1 seam, and then 1 that has 2 seams. So this is going to be your book binding. So we're going to wait and hold off on that one. These 3 pieces of peach are going to be your decorative binding. So we're going to set those over there. And these are the pieces that you're going to be looking for, okay? So the first thing that you're going to do, and I'm just going to leave my pieces all together just to make my life easier. So I'm going to find my cover, which is this one. Now I do have pieces with your titles already in the page so that you don't get those mixed up. So I'm going to pull that out just for the teaching purpose. Your flip-flops have a piece of white on them, and this has a texture to it. So that tells you that that is where your adhesive is. So you're going to simply take these pieces here and fold them along the score lines. And you will see one side of the inside, or sometimes both, just depending on how we put them together, has red line tape on it, okay? So you're gonna pull this piece of film off. This is gonna go, the sticky side is gonna go on the side that does not have the red line tape. And you should be able to see about where that seam of that adhesive ends. And you're just gonna go like that, seal it shut, and then you're gonna pull the red line strip off, like that, and you're gonna secure it down. And that is gonna be one completed page. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and do that for all of these pieces. Again, you're gonna pull this film off, and just where the adhesive, you can see where that adhesive ends, is gonna be your line. That gives it room to wiggle. If you don't do that, then the binding becomes too tight, and it's really, really hard to open up the pages. So we're just gonna complete this process. If you find that one of your pieces that you fold incorrectly and you get it a little bit off, or if it was scored incorrectly off a little bit when you score them, I've already scored them for you, but if you're making your own, you can very easily just make sure that you trim it so that it doesn't exceed the space too far. So that is 3. This one also has a bag with a title, so just for ease sake, I'm pulling that out. I'm gonna pull this one off. I'm not super consistent with which direction works easier for me. We're gonna fold that one. I think that these would be so cute for like an ABC book, or like I said, a brag book. If you have just a simple little occasion that you don't want to do a big book about. If you go with your cousins, like we did a day trip with our cousins to the pool last summer, and this would be something cute to do for them as well. Be great Christmas gifts for your kids to give their friends, or you to give your nieces and nephews. Just fun little things that can happen. Of course, you could also do this with the 5x7 size. You could probably do it with the squares. I have not tried the squares yet, but I think that the 4x6 it's our most general size, and I think it probably works the best. Okay, so all of those are put together. Now we are going to double check. I'm going to double check real quick to make sure that since I flipped these around, that they are in the right order, because that is important to me. And it doesn't really matter, let's see, these two go side by side. It doesn't really matter which piece goes down, you just want the tape to be able to go down one way or the other. Okay. So you can see I have all these stacked. Now what I'm gonna do is bend this one, the top one back, and I'm gonna hold it up because I wanna make sure that I align them together on the top seam. I'm not really that worried about the others, but just on the top seam. Hopefully you can see that. So I'm gonna keep adding them until I have all 6 stacked. You could do more than 6. However, I felt like when I tried doing more than 6, the binding ended up going like that. And it wasn't as pretty. But you could try it if you needed to. Our flip-flaps, if you're not familiar, they now come in 2 orientations. So one pack comes with 12 flip-flaps, 6 with the vertical fold, and then 6 with the horizontal fold. So it's perfect for these. You can just, assume that you're going to use half of a pack and then you have the other ones. And I personally use more of the horizontal flip-flaps in my artwork. So that makes this like super, super easy. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this piece that has that dual, and I'm going to slide it. Normally I would have a bone folder, but I forgot to grab it. So I'm going to fold it both places just like that. Okay, now you might already have a piece here, and that's no worries. Just depends on the direction that you folded it. So I'm going to pull these pieces of film off the binding. And I do want to make sure that I have that fold about right. So I'm only going to pull one off at a time. My lighting is a little bit tricky because I don't want it to, whoops. I don't want it to reflect too much off the flip flaps. Okay, there we go. So I got that off, actually off-centered a little bit. So I'm going to fix it real quick. Okay, so there is our binding. Now you're going to take your adhesive runner and use these little strips. That is going to cover the edge of that binding, just like that, just to give it a little bit more color. And you're going to do the same on the back. Like that. And then you have one tiny little strip. Now this isn't necessary, but if you want to use it, then most certainly you can. And it's going to go right on the binding. I tried to do it with one piece and scoring, and I really didn't care for the way that it ended up looking. Okay, so the next thing you're gonna do is you can do shimmer trim, you can do a ribbon, anything that you want for the binding. Typically, let's see if I can capture this. Typically I do ribbon. I think that the ribbon holds really well, but our new shimmer trim is a much thinner, and it's much more like a ribbon than the stiffness that it used to be. So it goes around these edges very cleanly and works really, really well. So I'm going to purposely come back, straighten it up a little bit, oops, because I want my pieces to meet, just like that. And then I purposely want it to overlap a little bit. And then you have your binding. So that's how you're going to create that. So then we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to set that, I guess, right here so you can kind of see where I'm going with it. And you're going to pull out the pieces for the first page. And you should have several pieces. You're going to have the white piece. It looks like this. And then you have a toffee underneath. So you're simply going to just put adhesive on the back. And center that within that space. I'm going to set it over there for a second. Then you have a striped piece of the toffee and vanilla cream. And you can choose. Our pattern paper is our cardstock is two tones. So you have the light tone and then you have the dark tone. And I'm going to use the light because I like the light of this peach so much better. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to open up our little compliment bag. And I'm just going to kind of dump that. Be very careful when you open it because the little bow ties are very, very little. And you don't want to miss those. So I am going to pull out these little scallop circles. Now one you will notice has the hearts on it. That is for the back. So you want to make sure that you don't use that one. And we're going to use the white or the French vanilla and then the peach. So the French vanilla, you could pop it up on foam. I'm choosing not to because I want to pop up my sentiment or my title. So I'm going to put the French vanilla at the top and then put this one at the bottom. And then you will notice there is a little piece about this long, and I am just going to cut it in half. I'm going to use the measurements or the spacing on my Versa mat so that I get them in about the same spot. And this was actually a zip strip, so it was at the top of our paper. And I didn't want to have to waste all of this space because I wanted to be able to use it somewhere else. So I just cut, it's about 2 fingers worth on each side. Okay, so then the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find one of your little gingerbreads. And the gingerbreads are 3 layers. And I know that that was tricky for some people, so I thought that I would point that out. So again, your toffee paper, you have a light and a dark. So I have my dark side of my first one down, and then the white. And he's gonna line up, but he's not gonna line up perfect because it's kind of like a shadow thing going on. You could use the glue pen. I didn't grab mine, but the glue pen would work really, really well too. So if you line it up just right, you can see how the white icing kind of comes through, okay? So then I went ahead and I put him flat because he's already 3 layers thick, right? And I just put him, let me slide that up a little bit, up in the corner kind of at an angle. And then I just watched his little head to make sure that he's got a little icing showing. So I'm gonna cut that icing off, or the white, which is what I'm calling the icing. There we go. So I'm just gonna have him kind of pop there. And then I'm gonna take my foam tape and put that on the back side. I'm gonna put it on both the top and the bottom, and then I'm gonna put a piece in the middle just to give it support. And I'm gonna pull that film off. And then I'm actually putting it at an angle. So I don't want to make it too sharp of an angle, but I am going to angle it. And then you can take your glue pen and add your title however you want. It says Baking Up Memories. So I didn't attach it that way. Sorry, my dog just came in. She heard the word gingerbread. I went ahead and cut it out and put it in a separate bag so that you could use it, or you could come up with your own title if you wanted to. So then the next thing that you're gonna do is you have a bag of sequins. And I'm just gonna grab a few sequins. I tried to grab the ones that were more pinkish. These are the rose gold sequins. So they are actually retired, but they are still available. So I tried to pick those that were a little bit more pink in tone versus the gold. You can do whatever you want. They both look very well balanced. So you're gonna put some of those here and then just kind of flourish those. And then the next thing that I did, which I'm not gonna do for time's sake and drying, is that I took my clear stickles and I just put a tiny little dot in each of those sequins so that it sparkled a little. But then of course you need to allow it to dry. So if you look at the sample or at your picture, you'll see that there's 3 up here. One is dotting the I of the word baking, and then there's 3 down here. One is dotting the I of the memory. So I thought that that was super, super fun. So then what you would do is you would just go ahead and slide this into here if you were all done. But I wanted to keep the thickness a little bit thinner. I didn't want to double up everything. So I'm taking the next piece on the back and I am going to actually glue it right to the back of this. So do double check that you have it going the right way. So I'm gonna glue it just like that. And then inside that bag you have, or in that page, you have a little bag that has all of your words. So it says Christmas Baking Crew, and you have a few of the little pieces that have popped out in case you want to reinsert them, like the insert of the A. I chose not to use that, but you do have those if you would like to. So it says Christmas Baking Crew, and then over here, so I'm not going to do that, but I just wanted to show you that. So this will be a photograph. Now you can crop it down if you want the peach to show, or you can just put your 3x4 photograph, as I have mine here, right directly on that page. And again, that's just gonna keep the thickness down. So then I have this fun little piece of paper, and I wanted it glittery. So what I did was I took my my toffee shimmer brush, and I just added toffee all the way across. just like that. And it added some shimmer. It's really pretty. It darkens the paper just a little bit and gives it a shine. And then I would put this directly on my photograph. So I'm gonna set it up here to draw. Oops, I flipped it over. But it would go right here on your photograph. And then once it dries, then you would add 3 little sequins right on that strip, okay? So then the next page is going to be just a standard photograph, okay? So what we're gonna do then is create this fun page. And this was my favorite. I'm gonna scoot my pieces over, actually over here, so you can see it a little bit better. So we're gonna pull out those pieces out of the second one. So this is the same thing. This has all the pieces in it, but then the back of this peach paper is going to be where you add your photograph. Okay, so that's where your photograph is gonna go. I'm gonna slide this up just a little bit. I know that's gonna take it off screen, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm using, again, the light side of the peach, just to make sure that I have all my pieces in order before I glue them down. This piece is a little bit smaller, and you'll see that the chimney is on top. We have this piece, which is gonna go over there. And then you have 2 pieces of the embossed, which look like the icing of the house. You have a piece of acetate, and you have this overlay, and then you have your little strip there. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this. This was cut with one of our grids. So I'm gonna cut out the grid from this thin cut piece so that this left side is open, just like that. So it's gonna look just like that, okay? So then what I wanna do is I wanna actually attach that to my acetate before I do anything else so that I don't forget, and I'll show you why in a second. So I'm gonna flip over this piece, and I'm just gonna take my adhesive runner across where I have it. Make sure you're on the back side. You can tell a difference because the front side is much more clear. It's much more finished looking. Just like that, okay? So now that we have that piece done, we're actually going to flip this piece over, and our thin tape fits almost perfectly. You need to be a little bit careful, but it fits almost perfectly if you line it up and you can't see it through to the front. So this is the narrow of our thin. And see, you don't even notice it on the front. So I want to give this piece support because I want it to pop up and make a shaker window. So I'm going to put it all the way around. And if you exceed it, it's okay. You can go ahead and trim that. Sometimes I have a hard time eyeballing my lengths. That one looks okay. Now, it's not super important in this big window because nothing is moving around. But in the smaller windows, you want to make sure that you don't have spaces where your sequins are going to fall out. So I'm going to line this one up. I am going to put a little piece here and there just to support it. I don't want to go all the way across because I want my sequins to be able to flow through the card. But that will do 2 things. One, it will keep them kind of consistent throughout the card and they're not all going to sink to the bottom. But then also it's going to support this window part so it doesn't sink in the center while the rest of the frame is balanced and popped up. But this is the part, you can have a little gap, but just make sure the gap is small enough that your sequins aren't gonna fall out of your card, because that would be a total bummer to lose your sequins all over the floor when they open their card or their book. I guess it would catch in the flip flap, but then it would be tricky. And the good thing about the acetate, now this is the Cricut brand acetate. You can get acetate online, Amazon, what have you. We have brand new rectangular acetate windows that I think are probably going to fit this, but like I said, they're brand new and I haven't had the opportunity to get them yet. Okay, so that is how that works, and it's going to go just like that. Okay, so now we're going to build the foundation, and this piece here, the stripe piece, is going to go on the part with the roof. And I know you're thinking, Tanya, that's really crazy. Why did you waste the paper? It measures out to fit here, and it makes it easier for your pieces to fit together. So there is rhyme and reason to my craziness, I promise. Okay, so here I'm going to put the bottom of my house about there. The top of the roof I'm going to pop up on my foam because I want it to look elevated. So I'm going to put foam tape just to kind of balance it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. You do want to kind of center it around where your chimney is. That's kind of important. So I don't want, I might have to scooch it over if you don't have it totally balanced. But you want the chimney not to look like it's in left field. Chimney can be kind of crooked. I think that would give it some more character. Okay, so that piece is going to look like that. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to put the sequins up on the top, and you would put your little gingerbread guide down, okay? But I haven't done my gingerbread, so I'm going to wait on that part. I am going to show you how to do this part. So the best way to do this is to make a little pile. I actually did 3 little piles and kind of scooch them back together. So they're kind of around the parameters of where I want them to be. Okay, so then you're going to go ahead and you're going to take the film off of the side with the grid. I'm not going to worry with the other piece because I want to be able to go back later after I've colored my little gingerbread guys. So my gingerbread people, I colored with the shimmer brushes. I used the toffee as the base, and then any part that I wanted it to be a little bit different of a color, I actually used the peach shimmer on top of the toffee, and that worked really well. Okay, so I am going to make sure, it looks like I'm good, that the bars going across are in between those little piles, and then once it's set, I'm gonna put it down, and then you can see it shakes. But you can see how, hopefully I'm not making you dizzy, you can see how the sequins kind of stay within each of those sections, and that works super, super well. So I'm leaving this section here off, just like that, so that I can lift that and put my little gingerbread person here and my little sequins on the top. But in the meantime, then I'm gonna go ahead and put adhesive on the back, and I'm gonna put this down. It is going to be flush with the top and bottom, you can see here, okay? And then I'm going to leave a space over here. And then I cut this other piece of a zip strip. And I just wanted to balance that section off. And your zip strip might be a little bit longer. And if it is, no worries. Just flip it to the back. Mine looks like it's fine. But just flip it to the back and trim it. So then if you do it this way, don't forget to go back and add your little gingerbread people. Okay? So that is how that page was done. That was actually the trickiest of all of the pages. So the next page is super easy. And they just slide in. If you find that your pieces are a little bit tight in your flip-flaps, then just go and trim them out just a hair. I found that even when I get pictures processed from somewhere else, sometimes they're a little bit short or a little bit long. So for this one, we're just going to take the smaller peach piece, and this one is also going to be unbalanced. So it's going to be over here like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my toffee shimmer brush. I'm gonna see if I can do it this way to show you. It's kind of like a banner. It's not like super even, anything like that. And I'm just gonna be really, really careful and color that from the top and just make sure I watch the edges. So you can see the effect that it has. It's truly pretty. I know it's hard to pick up on the camera. There we go. Okay, so of course I want that to dry, and then I'm gonna add my 3 little sequins. Hopefully you can see that there. There's 3 sequins and my little gingerbread people. And you could do boys, girls, whatever you think. My daughter thought I needed 2 girls and I did a boy and a girl. So anyway, so that was that piece. Now this one the back has a completely different piece. So it is not directly on the back side of this one. You could do that if you wanted to. So here we have 2 of these little guys, and you can pop them up or you can put them flat. What I did was I actually put them flat. Oops, this one there might be a couple little pieces that didn't pop out on the Sizzix or whatever die cutting machine that you use. I've gone back to my Sizzix. I love, love, love my Cuttlebug, and we can't get plates for them anymore. I also like the Close to My Heart machine, but at my house we usually run more than 1 machine at a time, so I tend to go back to my Sizzix. Once a Sizzix lover, always. Okay, so down here you have a title. It's going to be Your Christmas for the left side, and then Cookie Tester for the right. So that's all together in this long bag, okay? And then you have these little pieces here, and these are stamped, so you have your little lollipops and your candy canes, and you can do those however you wanted. I did them with the toffee, with the peach, and then I came back and used the clear on the candy cane on the white stripes. So those are adhered there, and I'm not going to take the time to show you that because you can be your creative genius there. So you have a cluster coming up here, hopefully you can see that, of the sequins, and then you have a 3 little cluster here, and there's another cluster down there, okay? So for the next page, I actually used the white again. If I can get that out. The brown one I did flat, but I really wanted the one with the gingerbread to pop up. And I'm also a pink girl. So this one I have flat, and the pink one I popped up on the foam. So because I popped this up on the foam, I'm not gonna pop up my gingerbread, but again, I think it's a he, yeah. He is 3 layers thick. So he already has that thickness of the actual paper. So again, I'm gonna come down and put the little white on, which I'm calling the icing. Try to line up the little, I love the little zigzags. This was actually a Cricut cut. And I had researched, if you guys haven't researched Cricut, you should, because they're so much fun. So him, I'm gonna let his icing kind of show him as layers. But then there is this stinking cute little bow tie. And it is super, super tiny. So I'm gonna put it on like that. And then what I did was I took my clear shimmer brush, whoops, it popped off. I have it going on upside down here. There we go. I took my clear shimmer brush and filled in all the white spaces. So it truly glistened like icing did, which I thought was a really cool effect. I just absolutely love gingerbreads. I could have them all season long. And I love the fact that my daughter loves to make them for me. Okay, so that is the end of that page. Super simple, except for doing the title. So this next one is also a lot of fun. And it has several layers. So we're gonna pull those apart. So for the first layer, you have this piece here. Now, you can do it like I did here with the white. So to do that, you would just trim down this piece a little bit. But I also wanted to show you another way because I went back and forth. I liked both styles, so I thought I would do this one a little bit different. And that is totally covering the white with the brown. So we're going to do it like that. Now, there is also in that little bag with the white pieces, with these little guys, a little bag of your brown pieces. And those are the ones that are going to fill in if you want. You can see the inside of the B and the A and the E and the D and the D. So forth. All of those little pieces are going to be in the white bag that you had from the Christmas baking crew. So those are together so that you don't lose them. Do be very careful when you open them. Maybe open them on like a piece of paper like this, something like that, so that you can see if you're losing a piece. So then the banner is 3 pieces. The bottom is the actual banner. And I would line these up to make sure you have the right coloring before you move forward. So this little guy, ideally, I would do with my glue pen, but I forgot to grab it, so please forgive me. So I'm just gonna line that up. That goes flat. That would be almost impossible. I'm sure someone could do it, but it would be virtually impossible for me at least to pop that up on foam. So this little fresh thing is popped up on foam, and you're just gonna use the tiniest pieces in between a few of the letters. You don't have to do every single piece, nor do you have to pull the film off of every single piece. You're just trying to balance it up. Hopefully you can see that. I probably dropped too far down. So I'm gonna do 4 on mine. This piece I'm gonna have hang off the edge, and I'm gonna trim that because that's the bulk of where the space is. And that little piece goes right up there. Okay, so I am going to cut off, it's just a tiny fraction, but to me it made more sense. Okay. So then you're going to come and you're just going to pull off, like I said, you don't have to pull off all of them if it's too hard. You want them for support, but you do want to make sure that it stays on. So this is going to go right over that part of the banner, just like that, okay? And then you're gonna pop the entire banner up because you want it to look 3D. So I'm gonna put a piece of foam tape there. And remember, again, not every little piece has to be covered. You want it to stay up, you want it to be balanced, you don't want it to get smushed. And if you offset the white just a little bit, you can see that shadow, okay? So then because there's already thickness here, I'm gonna actually adhere this flat. I'll slide this out of the way again. And I wanna make sure that it's in the center. Now on this one, I actually use the dark, but I still prefer that light. So I'm gonna flip it back to the light. Then you have 2 pieces of glitter. And those just go about 1/8 of an inch or so off of your big piece. Just like that. And then you have these 2 tiny strips. And those are gonna go on either side. So of course, you don't have to do this. You could certainly scooch this off to one side and do a photo on the other side. Quite often I wait until I have my pictures to put my placements on, but this one I just thought was so super fun. It was too hard to resist. Okay, and then you're gonna add a sequin here and a sequin here just to balance out the words served here. So that is that page. Okay, so moving along, now you have the 2 easiest pages by far, because it's just a matter of centering. So this is my lollipop. Now I used our Tri-Blend markers, which have an alcohol base, so they do bleed through. So if you're using those markers, and most of the items in my shop have a drop-down menu where you can purchase those at a discount if you've purchased one of my class kits, but they do leak through or seep through the back of the paper. So make sure that when you are doing it, when you are coloring, that you have something underneath. I got a little adhesive in the corner there, but we can fix that. Make sure you have something underneath so you don't ruin whatever you were coloring on top of, okay? Now, for this one, I colored it with the shimmer brushes, and then I added a cluster around because I wanted to write the recipe here. You could journal. You could also do a photograph and then have the sequins kind of flourish over the photograph if you wanted. And that's all there is to that page, okay? So then the next page is basically just the opposite of what we did there. We're gonna slide this to the back. Now, one thing I will tell you is to make sure, if it's important to you, make sure that these two are on the same side, left and right. Otherwise, it might look a little awkward for the coloring of it. So you want to make sure if you use the light side on one, you use the light side on the other. So I'm going to center my second lollipop. And of course, you could do it opposite. You could have the lollipops on the left and the right edges instead of in the center. I just thought that that was something fun and different. This is going to center down just like that, and then that page is done. So then for the back page, you're actually going to do what we did before to keep it thin, and you'll have this piece. Now, I did notice in a couple of the kits that I flip-flopped the piece. So this one is cut down. If you have the full piece in this back page, then that's the one that goes earlier, and you should catch that pretty early on. The one piece is a little bit smaller, or like I said, you can mix it up. I know that a lot of my clients like to do it exactly the way I did it, so I thought that this video would be helpful. So we're going to do that flat, and then this is that fun little piece that I did not pop up. It would look really cute popped up, but I thought this would be a really cute little thing, like a love auntie or love mom, or even just the date of what the little book is. You could do a photograph on the book, on the back of the book. I wasn't planning on it. And then on this page, I used more of the gold, the rose gold versus the pink. So this one's a little bit more gold toned than the pink. But that's all there is to it. So lots of fun. I would love if you'd post to my group if you make your book once you finish it and once you add your photos. I'd love to see the cute photos and how you did yours. I just think it's a super fun thing, and who doesn't love gingerbreads, right? You could even do gingerbread now. It doesn't have to be Christmas, and these colors would allow you to do it at a different time. So I hope you had fun with this book. If you have any questions, certainly you can email me. My email address is the same thing as my blog. It's just at gmail.com. And have a great day. Whatever you do, make it sassy.